The void between stars held secrets that even the most advanced civilizations had yet to fully comprehend. Among these mysteries were the Voidkin, beings of pure energy who had evolved to exist within carefully maintained quantum containment fields, their consciousness spanning multiple dimensions at once. For millennia, they had been the guardians of ancient knowledge, their vast archives containing the collected wisdom of 1,000 extinct species. But now the Voidkin faced their own extinction. Emergency alerts pulsed through the quantum networks of the Starbridge station, their frequencies carrying undertones of desperation that even the station's automated systems could detect. First Observer Nexus, a collective consciousness spanning 7 interconnected energy matrices, monitored the degradation of their containment fields with growing alarm. Field stability at 37% and falling, Nexus broadcast across the emergency channel. The quantum resonance patterns are collapsing faster than our models predicted. The great viewing chamber of Starbridge Station erupted in a cascade of emergency signals as other Voidkin consciousnesses joined the discussion. Their energy forms, usually maintained in precise geometric patterns, fluctuated with distress. The auxiliary generators cannot compensate, Second Observer Pulse announced, their energy signature flickering erratically. We have lost 3 peripheral habitats in the last solar cycle alone. 2,000 consciousnesses gone. Nexus expanded their awareness, taking in the full scope of their crisis. The quantum containment fields that allowed the Voidkin to maintain their coherent energy forms were failing systematically across their civilization. Without them, their consciousness would dissipate into the void, joining the background radiation of space itself. We have exhausted all conventional solutions, Nexus stated, their tone carrying the weight of inevitability. The Council of Observers must consider the unthinkable option. The chamber fell silent, even the usual quantum background noise dampening as if in anticipation. Every Voidkin knew what Nexus meant, but none had dared voice it until now. The Deathworlders, Pulse finally responded, their energy pattern contracting in what passed for a shudder among their kind. You suggest we contact the humans. The very mention of humans sent ripples of disturbance through the assembled Voidkin. They had watched from afar as this young species emerged from their high-gravity world, their dense physical forms and resilient biology, allowing them to survive conditions that would destroy most sentient life. The Voidkin had observed with a mixture of fascination and horror as humans tackled seemingly impossible engineering challenges with solutions that often seemed as brutally efficient as they were inelegant. Their approach to quantum mechanics is primitive, objected Third Observer Wave, their frequency sharp with disapproval. They rely on brute force where we employ precision. Their presence alone could destabilize our remaining fields. And yet, Nexus countered, they have achieved what we once thought impossible. The stabilization of the Proxima Collapse, the containment of the Helios Cascade. Where other species see barriers, humans see challenges to overcome. The chamber hummed with the electronic equivalent of murmured debate. The Voidkin prided themselves on their mastery of quantum engineering, their ability to manipulate the very fabric of space-time with delicate precision. To admit they needed help, and from physically bound beings no less, challenged the very core of their identity. But the numbers didn't lie. At current degradation rates, the entire Voidkin civilization had less than 1 standard solar year before critical failure. Their choice was between pride and extinction. I moved to initiate contact with the Human Quantum Engineering Court, Nexus declared formally. Our survival demands we adapt, even if that adaptation requires embracing methods we once dismissed. The vote rippled through the quantum network, one by one. The observers added their signatures to the motion, each acceptance tinged with a mixture of resignation and desperate hope. Within hours, a quantum burst transmission was directed toward Earth's primary communications array. The message was encoded in multiple formats to ensure understanding. To the Human Quantum Engineering Court, the Voidkin Collective faces an unprecedented crisis. Our containment field network approaches critical failure. We formally request immediate assistance, offering in exchange access to our complete database of quantum manipulation techniques. Time is of essence. Our civilization's survival depends on your response." As the message streamed across light years, First Observer Nexus maintained their vigil in the viewing chamber, watching the increasingly unstable patterns of their containment fields. They had spent centuries studying humanity from afar, documenting their violent history, their reckless courage, their impossible achievements. Now, the future of the Voidkin would depend on whether those same qualities could be turned to salvation rather than destruction. The response, when it came, was characteristically human in its brevity. Message received. QEC vessel Quantum Horizon dispatched. Estimated arrival: 72 hours. Hold position. We're coming. As the message reverberated through Starbridge Station, Nexus detected something unexpected in their own quantum signature, an emotion they had not experienced in centuries. Hope. The quantum horizon emerged from its final quantum jump with characteristic human precision, which is to say, barely within acceptable parameters. The massive vessel's arrival sent ripples through the quantum field that made every Voidkin consciousness within range fluctuate in discomfort. Dr. Maya Santos stood at the bridge's main viewport, her dark eyes studying the ethereal structures of Starbridge Station. The Voidkin architecture defied conventional physics, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. The station itself seemed to phase in and out of reality, its boundaries more suggestion than substance. "Containment field analysis complete," announced Dr. Chen Wei, the ship's lead quantum physicist. "Their technology is incredible. They're not just manipulating quantum fields, they're living inside them." Maya nodded, her attention focused on the holographic displays showing the station's deteriorating field stability. "And those fields are collapsing. Look at these harmonic patterns. They're losing coherence at an exponential rate." The bridge crew, handpicked from Earth's best quantum engineers and scientists, worked with practiced efficiency. They had dealt with quantum disasters before, but this was different. They weren't just trying to prevent a catastrophe. They were trying to save an entire species that existed in a state of matter humans had barely begun to understand. "Receiving docking instructions," reported Lieutenant Sarah O'Connor from the helm. "They want us to maintain a distance of at least 2 kilometers. Apparently, our mass could disrupt their quantum fields." "Understood." Maya straightened her uniform. "Prepare the quantum-shielded shuttle. First contact team with me. And remember, we're not just engineers here. We're diplomats." The shuttle journey to Starbridge Station was disorienting. The closer they got, the more reality seemed to blur around them. Maya's quantum field sensors showed readings that should have been impossible, dimensions folding in on themselves in ways that made her head hurt to contemplate. First Observer Nexus met them in what passed for a docking bay. Though to human eyes, it looked more like a controlled quantum storm. The Voidkin's form was difficult for human perception to process, a geometric pattern of pure energy that shifted between states faster than the eye could follow. "Welcome, humans of Earth." Nexus's thoughts manifested directly in their minds through the quantum translation matrix. "Though we must admit, your physical density is concerning." Maya had expected this. Most advanced species found humans troublingly solid. "We've adjusted our quantum shielding to minimize our impact on your fields," she said. "I'm Dr. Maya Santos, lead quantum engineer. We came as soon as we received your message. Your swift response is appreciated." Nexus led them through corridors that seemed to exist in multiple places at once, though some among us questioned the wisdom of involving physically bound beings in our crisis. The human team followed, their boots feeling strangely insubstantial on floors that were more probability than matter. Maya's portable quantum scanner was having fits, trying to make sense of readings that defied conventional physics. "Show us your primary containment field generators," Maya requested. "We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." The central engineering hub of Starbridge Station was a symphony of quantum chaos. Vast energies flowed through patterns that made Maya's eyes water just looking at them. Dr. Chen's quantum scanner actually shut itself down in protest. The resonance patterns are failing systematically, Nexus explained, their form fluctuating with distress. Our attempts to stabilize them only accelerate the collapse. We estimate total field failure within 27 standard days. Maya studied the quantum flows, her mind already racing through possibilities. The Voidkin's quantum engineering was centuries ahead of human technology in some ways, and yet their very sophistication had become a weakness. They were too precise, too dependent on perfect quantum states. Your containment fields are too perfect, she said finally. That's the problem. You're trying to maintain quantum states with absolute precision, but quantum mechanics doesn't work that way. The more precisely you try to control it, the more entropy increases in the system. Dr. Chen finished, understanding dawning in his eyes. They're fighting against the fundamental nature of quantum uncertainty. Nexus's form pulsed with what might have been confusion. Precision is the foundation of our existence, without perfect quantum control. Sometimes, Maya interrupted gently, the solution isn't more control. Sometimes you need to work with the chaos instead of against it. She pulled up a holographic model showing a new containment field design. It was cruder than the Voidkin's elegant solutions, incorporating elements of human brute force engineering along with their quantum precision. We can't stop quantum uncertainty, she explained, but we can build fields that bend instead of break. Containment systems that adapt to quantum fluctuations instead of trying to eliminate them. The assembled Voidkin observers studied her proposal, their energy patterns shifting rapidly as they processed the implications. Maya could sense their discomfort with the idea. Everything about it went against their fundamental understanding of quantum engineering. What you suggest is inelegant, Nexus said finally. But our current situation demands we consider alternatives beyond our traditional methods. How quickly can you begin modifications? Maya glanced at her team, saw the determination in their eyes. We'll need to modify our quantum stabilizers to interface with your systems, and we'll need your help to understand exactly how your consciousness interacts with the fields. But we can start immediately. Then we must trust in your human approach, Nexus decided. Though I must warn you, any failure in the containment fields, even momentary, would mean the death of thousands of our people. Maya met the energy being's gaze, or what passed for it. We understand the stakes, and we won't let you down. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When failure isn't an option, we find a way to succeed. As her team began unpacking their equipment, Maya could feel the weight of thousands of Voidkin consciousnesses watching them. They had 27 days to completely reinvent quantum containment field technology, merging human ingenuity with Voidkin precision. It would be impossible by any reasonable standard. But then, humans had always had a peculiar relationship with the word impossible. 15 days into the project, alarms screamed through Starbridge Station as the first test of the hybrid containment field system went catastrophically wrong. The quantum harmonics twisted in ways that shouldn't have been possible, creating cascade failures throughout the test sector. Containment field collapse in progress. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the chaos. The quantum resonance is destabilizing faster than the simulations predicted. Maya's fingers flew across the control interface, trying to stabilize the failing fields. Around them, the very fabric of space-time began to warp and buckle. Several Voidkin consciousnesses in the affected sector were already showing signs of dissolution, their energy patterns fraying at the edges. We need to shut it down, third observer wave demanded, their energy form flickering with panic. Your crude modifications are destroying everything. Shutting down now would cause total field collapse. Maya countered, not taking her eyes off the readings. The feedback loop is too far advanced. We need to ride it out. The human engineering team worked with desperate efficiency, their quantum stabilizers struggling to contain the growing chaos. This was the nightmare scenario they'd feared, their attempts to help the Voidkin threatening to accelerate their extinction instead. Energy levels critical, Lieutenant O'Connor reported from her station. The field harmonics are completely out of phase. Maya made a decision that went against every safety protocol and scientific principle she'd ever learned. Divert all power to the quantum harmonic generators. We're going to overload them. That's insane. Waves' protest rang through their minds. The energy discharge could shatter consciousness patterns across half the station. Trust me, Maya insisted, her hands steady despite the stakes. Sometimes you have to break something completely before you can fix it properly. She'd seen something in the quantum readings, a pattern within the chaos that shouldn't have been possible. The failing containment fields weren't just collapsing. They were trying to reorganize themselves into a new configuration. Full power to the generators, she ordered. And everyone brace for quantum displacement. The next few moments stretched into an eternity as reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The quantum fields twisted, warped, and then stabilized. But not in the way anyone had expected. The hybrid containment fields had found a new equilibrium, a perfect balance between human adaptability and Voidkin precision. The quantum readings showed patterns that defied conventional physics yet remained remarkably stable. Impossible, Wave whispered, their energy form pulsing with disbelief. The field coherence, it's actually increasing. Maya studied the readings, a smile slowly spreading across her face. Not impossible, just different. The fields aren't fighting quantum uncertainty anymore. They're using it. Like a quantum version of surfing. The human engineers and Voidkin observers gathered around the displays, watching as the new containment field configuration stabilized itself further. It was neither the precise, rigid structure the Voidkin had always used, nor the brute force approach humans typically employed. Instead, it was something entirely new. The consciousness patterns, Dr. Chen noted, excitement creeping into his voice. They're not just stable. They're stronger than before. The quantum fluctuations are actually reinforcing the field integrity instead of degrading it. First observer Nexus moved forward, their energy forms studying the new configurations with intense interest. You deliberately pushed the fields past their breaking point, they observed, knowing it could have meant the death of everyone in this sector. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything, Maya replied simply. We had faith in the fundamental principles. Quantum mechanics isn't just about uncertainty. It's about possibility. The success of the test sector provided more than just a technical solution. It offered something far more valuable. Proof that humans and Voidkin could work together, combining their different approaches into something greater than either could achieve alone. We'll need to modify the remaining containment fields gradually, Maya explained, already planning the next steps. Too much change too quickly could still cause catastrophic failure, but now we have a working template. Your methods remain disturbing, Wave commented, though their tone carried less criticism than before. You embrace chaos in ways that challenge our most fundamental beliefs about quantum engineering. That's kind of our specialty, Lieutenant O'Connor said with a grin. Humans have a long history of turning chaos into opportunity. As the engineering team began preparing for the larger-scale field modifications, Maya caught Nexus observing her with what felt like curiosity. Your species continues to confound our expectations, the first observer communicated. You solve problems not by imposing order, but by finding harmony within disorder itself. Maya thought about humanity's long journey from Earth's harsh surface to the stars, about all the impossible challenges they'd overcome not through perfection, but through adaptation and determination. Maybe that's why we were able to help, she suggested. We never forgot that the universe isn't perfect, and that's what makes it beautiful. The quantum fields shimmered around them, human and Voidkin technology working in harmony in ways neither species had imagined possible. They had 12 days left to save an entire civilization, but now they had something more valuable than time. They had proof that the impossible was just another problem waiting to be solved. Time was running out on Starbridge Station. With only 5 days remaining before critical field collapse, The combined human-Voidkin engineering teams worked around the clock to implement the hybrid containment system across the entire station. But as the pressure mounted, so did the tensions between the two species. The conversion rate is too slow. Third observer wave pulsed agitatedly as they monitored the field modifications. At current speed, we'll lose the outer sectors before completion. Maya wiped sweat from her forehead, her eyes burning from staring at quantum field displays for 20 straight hours. We're pushing the equipment as hard as we can. Any faster, and we risk desynchronization. The successful test had proven their concept, but scaling up the solution presented challenges nobody had anticipated. Each sector of the station required precise calibration to account for its unique quantum signature. Rush the process, and they risked destroying the very consciousnesses they were trying to save. Perhaps if your physical limitations weren't constantly interfering, Wave suggested, their energy pattern sharp with frustration. Your need for rest cycles costs us precious time. Dr. Chen slammed his hand down on a console, his usual calm cracking under the strain. Our physical limitations are the only reason you have a solution at all. Or would you prefer we left you to your slow extinction? Enough. First Observer Nexus's voice cut through the tension. This discord serves no one. We must focus on the task at hand. But the damage was done. The human team's exhaustion and the Voidkin's fear had created a powder keg of emotions that threatened to derail the entire project. Maya could see it in her crew's faces. The frustration, the exhaustion, the creeping doubt. Lieutenant O'Connor approached Maya's station, keeping her voice low. The crew's running on stims and caffeine. We've got people falling asleep at their stations. We need to rotate shifts. We can't spare the time, Maya replied, even as her own vision blurred from fatigue. The quantum field degradation is accelerating. If we don't complete the modifications in the next 72 hours. Her words were cut off by a sudden alarm. The quantum readings from Sector 7 spiked dangerously, the containment fields fluctuating wildly. Field collapse in progress. Dr. Chen shouted. We're losing containment across multiple subsectors. Maya's fingers flew across the controls, attempting to stabilize the failing fields. Transfer power from the completed sectors. We need to reinforce the boundary zones. Impossible. Wave protested. The energy transfer could destabilize the entire network. There are 15,000 consciousnesses in the affected sectors. Maya made a split-second decision. Lieutenant, initiate emergency protocol Omega. Dr. Chen, prepare for manual field synchronization. Manual sync. Wave's energy pattern fluctuated in horror. The quantum feedback could shatter your consciousness patterns. No physical being can withstand direct exposure to our quantum fields. Watch us, Maya growled, activating her neural interface. The quantum stabilizer hummed to life, creating a direct connection between her mind and the station's field network. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Having your consciousness partially quantum entangled with an alien network felt like being torn apart at the subatomic level. But Maya held on, using her own brainwaves to help synchronize the failing fields. One by one, her team joined her, linking their minds to the network. Their combined consciousness created a bridge between physical and quantum reality, stabilizing the fields through sheer human determination. Through the haze of pain, Maya became aware of something extraordinary. The Voidkin consciousness patterns weren't just accepting their help, they were adapting to it. The quantum fields began to pulse in rhythm with the human's brainwaves, finding a new harmony between physical and energy states. Remarkable. Nexus observed their own energy pattern joining the synchronization. Your physical consciousness. It creates quantum patterns we never imagined possible. For several excruciating minutes, humans and Voidkin worked as one, their combined effort holding the failing sectors together until the new containment fields could be established. When it was over, Maya and her team collapsed, their minds overwhelmed by the experience. Your people risked permanent neural damage. Nexus communicated as medical teams tended to the exhausted humans. Why? Maya managed a weak smile. Because that's what humans do. We see someone in trouble, we help, even if it means breaking every rule of physics and biology to do it. The incident changed something fundamental in the relationship between the two species. The Voidkin had witnessed firsthand the lengths humans would go to help others, even at great personal risk. And the humans had experienced a form of consciousness they never knew was possible. As Maya drifted in and out of consciousness in the medical bay, she heard snippets of conversation between the observers. Perhaps, Wave was saying, their tone thoughtful, "We have underestimated the potential of physical beings. Their very limitations seem to drive them to exceed all reasonable boundaries." "Indeed," Nexus replied. "They are teaching us that true survival requires more than perfect precision. It requires something we had forgotten: the courage to embrace uncertainty itself." The project had 3 days left to completion. But now, both species faced it with a new understanding of each other, and a growing recognition that their differences might be their greatest strength. The final hours aboard Starbridge Station ticked away with merciless precision. The combined human Voidkin teams had transformed nearly 80% of the containment fields, but the remaining sectors were proving the most challenging. These were the oldest parts of the station, where the quantum patterns were most deeply ingrained. Maya stood at the main control interface, her neural implants still aching from the emergency synchronization 3 days ago. The medical team had advised against further neural linking, but she knew they might not have a choice. Final sector approaching critical instability, Dr. Chen reported, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. The old quantum matrices are actively resisting the new configurations. First observer Nexus hovered nearby, their energy patterns showing signs of strain. These sectors contain our oldest consciousness patterns, some dating back to the founding of our civilization. Their quantum signatures are deeply embedded in the original field structure. Maya studied the readings, seeing something in the quantum fluctuations that she'd missed before. They're not just resisting change, she realized. They're preserving memory. These fields aren't just containment systems. They're your history. The revelation changed everything. They weren't just fighting against failing technology. They were trying to preserve the very essence of Voidkin civilization. The quantum fields didn't just contain their consciousness. They were their consciousness, a living record of everything they had ever been. "We need to modify our approach," Maya announced. "Instead of replacing the old fields, we need to evolve them. Let them keep their history while teaching them a new way to exist." She turned to her team. "Reconfigure the quantum harmonics to match the temporal resonance of the original fields. We're not going to force them to change. We're going to show them how to adapt." The next few hours were a desperate race against time as they attempted something never before tried in the history of quantum engineering. The human team worked to create a bridge between past and future, while the Voidkin helped translate their ancient quantum patterns into forms that could survive in the new system. As the final minutes approached, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The old fields were reaching critical failure points faster than they could modify them. "We're losing coherence in the central hub," Lieutenant O'Connor called out. "Field collapse in 3 minutes." Maya made her decision. "Prepare for full neural synchronization. All human personnel with neural interfaces, stand ready." "No," Nexus interrupted, their energy form pulsing with determination. "You have already risked too much. This time, we must be the ones to adapt." Before Maya could protest, the first observer's consciousness pattern began to change. Other Voidkin followed, their energy forms shifting into new configurations that matched the hybrid field harmonics. They were choosing to evolve, to transform themselves rather than ask the humans to risk their minds again. "Quantum resonance stabilizing," Dr. Chen reported in amazement. "The consciousness patterns they're teaching each other how to change." Maya watched in awe as the quantum displays showed something unprecedented. The oldest Voidkin consciousness patterns were not just accepting the new field configurations, they were improving upon them. Centuries of accumulated knowledge were being preserved even as the patterns evolved into more resilient forms. The final moments passed in a blur of activity, and then silence. Field conversion complete, O'Connor announced, her voice barely a whisper. Station-wide quantum stability at 107% of theoretical maximum. Maya looked around the control room, seeing the exhaustion and relief on her team's faces reflected in the pulsing patterns of their Voidkin counterparts. They had done more than save a civilization. They had helped it transcend its own limitations. Your solution was imperfect, Third Observer Wave noted, but their tone carried no criticism. And perhaps that was precisely why it worked. You taught us that perfection can be a prison. And you taught us that consciousness transcends physical form, Maya replied. Together, we've created something entirely new. The quantum fields of Starbridge Station hummed with new life, a harmony of precision and adaptation that would ensure the Voidkin's survival for millennia to come. But the true achievement wasn't just technological. The Council has reached a decision, Nexus announced. We are formally requesting a permanent human engineering presence on Starbridge Station. Our species have much yet to learn from each other. Maya smiled, feeling the quantum fields pulse around them with possibilities neither species had imagined mere weeks ago. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful collaboration. The stars shone unchanged through the station's quantum fields, but the beings who observed them, both energy and matter, would never be quite the same. In reaching out to save the Voidkin, humanity had once again proved that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their determination, but their ability to help others transcend their own limitations. And in accepting that help, the Voidkin had shown that even the most ancient and advanced civilization could still learn, adapt, and grow. Together, they had written a new chapter in the story of intelligent life in the universe, one where the boundaries between physical and energy, between precision and chaos, between past and future, began to fade away into new possibilities.